out to Roundtable Live. It's time for the show. It's July 14, 2017. I'm BaerTaffy, joined by RockLeeSmile, AlpacaPatrol, and Northernlion. Welcome out.
Dangerously Cosby there.
Yeah. Oh, what? That is
just for a sec. You pulled it out of it after a minute.
You became Bill Cosby.
No. No, I rarely.
There's a little bit of that
All right, I concede the Cosbyisms are definitely present in that interpretation. That's my go-to, like, morning radio disc jockey voice. Like, hey, welcome back to 9 a.m. Blitz. It's time for Roundtable.
Let me tell you something.
That is not Bill Cosby.
No, your normal voice is a radio voice. You don't have to do that.
They gotta throw it out a little bit, make it a little crazy, right? All right, fine. I'll just do the normal thing. Hi. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Welcome to the show. This is a video game show and also a show about nonsense. I'm BaerTaffy, joined by RockLeeSmile and Northernlion, as always, and also joined by our esteemed and honorary member of the Roundtable. It's AlpacaPatrol once again.
How's it going?
Welcome back. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good.
What you been playing this week, man? What have you been grinding?
Oh, I've been playing a lot of things actually this week. I was playing a little bit of RimWorld. I was playing a little bit of Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch. A little bit of Passepartout and
you've been bitten by that Heroes bug as well. I'm wondering if that's gonna make its way.
Is the bug named Sinvicta?
I resent the notion that it's like a catastrophe.
It's a virus.
You playing like an hour of a MOBA a night 3 to 4 times a week.
It was a very lighthearted jab. I meant nothing by it.
This motherfucker can play 9 hours of Rocket League from noon to 9 p.m. on a Tuesday.
I wasn't even talking to you.
And he gets on our asses for playing a MOBA.
I think he meant that to me, and then he deflected it onto you at the last minute.
You jump in here with your fucking shield up, man, ready to defend.
Well, you came at us with a shot right off the bat.
I hit Rob with a shot, and you just had to come in and defend yourself. But all right, I'll ease off a second. Sorry,
I've only played a few games. So,
okay, okay,
I'm good. I'm fine.
Ryan, have you been enjoying it?
I've also been enjoying Heroes of the Storm.
Okay,
it's been enjoyable to play with Rob and Sinvicta. Rob's Muradin is he's a good player. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
thank you.
I've heard as much about Rob.
He pings from time to time. I don't know what the pings mean, but I just kind of ignore them and then do whatever I was going to do anyway.
That's fair.
I think that's what the pings are for. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly, yeah.
We do have a docket today. We've got a few items on the docket we'll talk about. Oculus experiences a price drop, much to Nick's surprise and excitement, I'm sure. Perception will be on the docket today as well, a new experiential horror game. It's from the perspective of a blind woman, right? So that's...
Yeah, it's not that new either. I just got around to playing it this week for whatever reason. It's been on my radar for a bit.
It's this year at least, so that's still new. Based on last week's show, that's definitely new. Tower Unite, the new play, create, party experience, sort of a Second Life-esque game that we got that we'll be talking about here on the show today, along with Antihero. It's a new local strategy multiplayer game, as well as a single-player game that Ryan and I checked out, as well as The End Is Nigh, which is everyone's new obsession this week, the very difficult platformer by Edmund McMillan and Tyler Glale. But to start off with the Oculus Rift, it is the summer of Rift. I'm sure you were all very well aware of that already before I told you.
Yeah.
Like the year of Luigi.
You got the emails? You're on the membership list, Nick?
I've got several different people emailing me about several different Oculus related things. Good. I love that this story will never end of how many more ways can they let me down in the scheme of life. Right? Like, what has it been? 6 different times we've brought this up, and each time, like, oh, not again.
This one is, I think this might be one of the more noteworthy times that we brought it up, however, because not only is it the summer of Rift, they're going for that pretty steep price cut, bringing it down to, what was it? It's $399 for both the headset and the touch controller.
And the touch and a pile of games.
Oh, God.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't even
know. I paid $600 for the headset, and then I paid another $200 for the touch, and then I paid individually for all the games.
Oof, jeez.
So I'm saying I probably spent $1,000 on the thing, and now you can get it for $400.
And you still don't want to.
I've said once I got the touch, it's fine. I just think it should have been priced the same way the Vive was.
This is like step one to the V2 launch frenzy, though. I think is the fact that we now have 3 valid and like competing markets or competing companies in the VR marketplace right now. You've got Sony, you got Oculus, and you got the Vive and Valve. So
3 hardware platforms and nobody making any games except Valve, apparently.
Except Valve and Squanch Tendo.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, like at $400, like that's a console price point, right? Like, so that's just straight up. So like maybe now companies like will, if this actually gets a user base rolling, like maybe now companies will make real games and not, concept things.
Things with the voice actor from Rick and Morty exclusively.
Yeah.
No offense, I like those things. There's a lot of them.
I'm gonna take the retrograde approach here and say that we're in VR hell. This is the quicksand through which we are either cast a rope eventually and escape from, or the entire technology just drowns in.
Yeah.
Like, I feel my personal perspective right now is that things are not great on the VR side of things. From a hardware standpoint, I think they're really good. From a software standpoint, I just there's nothing VR that's come out in like the past 3 months that I care about at all. Maybe that's just my general malaise at this part of the industry to begin with. But then I'm also like, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt that there's like an indie crunch right now. And it used to be that if your game was really good and stood out head and shoulders above the rest, you stood a good chance to make a sustainable amount of money to continue working on it. But I don't know if that's the case anymore, and VR is even more niche than that. So I wonder if we're not in kind of like the honeymoon, post-honeymoon phase where things are a little more dangerous.
Tangentially, how real is that indie thing going on? Because I know there have been a bunch of articles about it and people have been talking about it, but like how much of that is one guy felt like his game didn't do as well as it should have, and then like one article picked it up and then another article was like alarmist and like pick it up again, and
because we get those Gamma Sutra postmortems every like 3 months or something, right? Where it's like, this really should have sold 50 million copies. I don't know what happened, but
it was like Brigador and then Tumbleseed.
Yeah,
I think there was even one more before that. I remember reading those too.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where like, I mean, we're still regularly seeing like big indie hits, right? I mean, like you could look at Darkest Dungeon or Enter the Gungeon, probably End Is Nigh. I don't know, but I'm sure that.
Wow. Okay. As a counterpoint,
yeah,
Enter the Gungeon came out a year ago. Darkest Dungeon came out 2 years ago, and then like the End Is Nigh, I sort of feel like is a little bit of it's an outlier in the sense that it's got a recognizable indie name behind it who's released stuff that has like collectively tens of millions of sales.
Yeah.
But Hollow Knight, despite the fact that people were kind of down on it, I'm sure Hyper Light Drifter did well, and that, I mean, those are all fairly recent, but I don't remember a time when like every month there were like 30, multi-million-dollar indie smash hits. Like that never really happened, I don't think, anyway, but maybe I'm looking back
2010.
Yeah, that's it.
That was when that happened.
I think, to some extent, like the cream rises to the top, and if something is like a 10 out of 10, then you were in a totally fine position now and probably a totally fine position 5 years ago. But I do think that if you come out with like a 6 in 2010, you're probably doing all right. And if you come out with a 6 now, you're probably not doing as well.
Yeah.
And whether or not that's a bad thing, for us as consumers is debatable, I guess.
I want to reel this back a bit to that Oculus conversation too, because I think you're onto something, Ryan, with the fact that this is kind of that honeymoon period of VR where we need to see at this point either. I think you're right in that the indies are likely not going to be able to break through in this medium, but if we can start to see more AAAs actually focus on, like some premium titles for VR, I think the $400 price point is at least, palatable for folks that are looking to get into it at this point. And if we can see less Fallout 4 VR and Skyrim VR and more, actual unique and interesting ideas that the big companies could put a lot of money behind, that's going to be what's, going to make or break it at this point.
And I want to qualify my comments. I'm not actually moaning for real. It's like, this is actually a great thing. If you didn't have it, Like, that's a really good price point to get a really solid piece of hardware for. I was just, lamenting the fact that I did the stupid thing and bought it early when I shouldn't have. But that's my own fault. Can't blame anybody for that.
I think right now it's actually even pretty safe to say that you should definitely go Oculus over Vive. Just like
at that price?
For price point alone, not to mention the fact that at this point all of the cross-play stuff has more or less been figured out. I don't know if there's really any sort of exclusivity anymore at all.
You can play most things. I mean, once you've got the touch set up, like, it's the same as the wands on Vive, and some games don't even say they support Oculus, and they just do. So go ahead and get it, I would say, at that price.
Like, you with Oculus, you don't get the room scale, right? But I don't know. For me personally, like, that's not a big selling point for me with the Vive. Like,
you might even be able to if you get a third satellite.
With the third box, right? Yeah. I think that's more or
really?
less the same effect. Yeah.
Well,
I recommend at least 2, but if you get touch, you get a second one. Oh yeah, there we go.
Requisites.
Brian, put the headset on.
Sorry, I forgot about that before.
It's a good price point to enter, I think, right now. But it is still, there's still the caveat of, like, the top 3 games I could recommend to you for VR right now would probably be, like, Elite Dangerous VR, the Rick and Morty game, and then there's that neat little strategy one that I played a couple weeks ago. I forgot the name of. But I can't remember the name of it, so, that's really indicative of a high-quality product.
I think Job Simulator is really fun,
yeah.
although not so much a full game as just, like, a really good tech demo. And apparently Super Hot VR is really good, but I haven't tried that yet.
I still haven't played that. Yeah, no, that's one that's been on my list for a bit, too. God damn it, this is bothering me now. I can't find the game.
I have a side question.
Sure.
That is related. Do you guys think that VR needs to be its own platform with its own unique games and games that influence or that are designed for specifically that medium? Or will VR be able to survive with, like, the new Elder Scrolls comes out and it has VR support. The new Call of Duty comes out and it has VR support.
Should be both. I think we're in the era where right now you need some name recognition to get people to bother. So stuff like Doom VR and Elder Scrolls and all that gets people interested a little bit. And then hopefully once they have the hardware, then you get the proprietary stuff out and then they're interested in that.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. Like, right now, I think it's not a good value proposition to develop something that's exclusively for VR, unless it's like an experience, I guess. Because that stuff is still coming out where you're like, you could be an astronaut for 45 minutes. This thing's going really fast. Earth is really small. But in terms of, like, making a comprehensive experience, like, I think that's what everyone's looking for to sell them. But it also just doesn't. I don't know. To me, at least, it doesn't seem like it makes sense from a marketing standpoint. But if it requires Skyrim and Fallout 4 and Doom coming out to get to that point, then I'm okay with that.
I don't know how strong of an analogy it is, but I wonder if you could equate it to, I think we even talked about this briefly, like the rise of 3D movies in the film industry, how, like, they kind of just got tacked on for quite a few of the major releases for a while. It's like, oh, you can also watch this in 3D if you feel like it. That's kind of neat. And now it's pretty much pervasive, like we were saying, to the point where, like, it's just assumed that most major releases are going to be available in 3D now. So I think maybe we'll see something similar going on with VR, where you'll see a lot of just, like, support for VR tacked onto a lot of major releases maybe in the next couple of years. And it won't be like a full experience, I'm sure, but it'll be similar to, like, the Fallout and Skyrim stuff we're seeing now.
That's sort of what I'm expecting. Also, though, I will mention I was watching a recent All or Nothing on Amazon about the NFL, and apparently,
I can't wait to hear how this ties in.
No, this ties in. Apparently, a lot of NFL teams are experimenting with using VR for training. So
that's cool.
It might, like, as much as I would hate it to be this way, but I mean, unless it gets a user base, I don't think it'll ever, I don't think it'll continue down the line. Mm-hmm. But it could go the way of the Kinect, where people just use Kinect technology in a lot of other applications.
To watch Netflix.
Well, yeah. I mean, but shit like that, like, there could be, like I said, they use it in training. Like, they just put a little thing on the helmet, and then the QB can watch the play, like, whatever angle he wants to see. So stuff like that,
Yeah, no, and, like, we talked about this on the show before too, but, like, they have been discussing putting VR seats in arenas for things like, WWE or even sporting events or stuff like that. So that's, a side
really
market
cool
for that too.
Yeah.
Anyway, big price drop. It looks like that $399 price is only good through the Summer of Rift event, and then there will be a permanent price drop of $200, bringing it down to, I think, what would that be? It was...
Well, it was 600 and 200, so what is it, 400 and 200? So it's still 6?
Yeah, I guess so, isn't it? It's either
because the base, the headset
6.
is the 600 thing, and then the touch was the 200.
Okay, so it looks like then... Damn it.
Yeah, so it should be 600 if that's right, unless they're overall lowering it before that.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. There we go. So there's the Summer of Rift. If you were looking for the entry point, there you go.
But why would you wait and pay an extra 200?
Right.
There's nothing's going to change between now and then
Unless,
if you want it.
I mean, you could wait another 6 months, and then maybe we'll see another cycle of price drops. But
how could it go any lower though and still be at all worth them selling?
I
right?
wonder,
Isn't this, we're in loss leader territory now, aren't we?
Do you think so? I really wonder how much they're looking at, per headset.
No idea what the technology costs, but it just seems to me.
Just based on a guess.
It feels too expensive.
Feels
to
like
it's
just near in the area.
The most recent consoles have they've got into revenue like a year in now, right? Which is crazy. Compared to
think back to the PS3
years.
for example. They were they had to sell at 600 or whatever it was just to even be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the PS4 I think went profitable within 9 or 10 months of it launching, which is crazy.
Doesn't Nintendo not subscribe to that trend? Don't they sell at a profit right from the start, or is that something else?
Maybe, I don't know.
I believe that is true, that Nintendo resists selling at a loss.
Huh.
But really, the gray market salesmen are the ones making all the big profit.
It's all those amiibos,
yeah, dog.
Yeah.
I did get a Switch, by the way, now that we're on the topic.
We're at 3 out of 4 Switches now.
Yes, sir.
I'll get one eventually once they come out with Metroid Prime 4 and what's the other one that they're doing? They're doing another one.
Well, they got Yoshi, Kirby. They got the whole world.
Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, but there was the one big one that is Metroid Prime 4 where they didn't show anything and they didn't show anything with something else that was exciting.
The Pokemon,
yeah.
I feel like you should have remembered that.
I should remember that, yeah. Once that comes out, I'm definitely getting a Switch. I just have to.
Mm-hmm.
Splatoon 2 comes out in 4 days.
Really?
Yeah, they had a free demo weekend too, and I didn't get it in time, so I missed out on it.
Comes out
there's
this
only one
upcoming week,
That's
think.
next week, yeah. Damn, next Friday.
They got Mario XCOM. That looks fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Y'all want to play some Splatoon 2?
I think so, yeah.
Let's do it.
I missed
$60 though.
I want to play ARMS, actually. That game looks fun.
Did you pick up
missed
ARMS?
it.
Oh, you missed it, yeah.
It's too late now. Because Splatoon 2 comes out in 4 days. I'm not going to get ARMS and then play it for 4 days and then play Splatoon 2. I didn't do my due diligence on ARMS and it's gone, and that can be the new... I'm trying to think of a good example from the Wii U. I didn't get Pikmin 3. So, I didn't get the wonderful 101. So I missed out on that one, and then 5 years from now, people will be like, go back and play it, and I'll be like, I don't really want to. And then, so
Sounds
be it.
familiar.
Yeah.
All right. Nick, I want to hear about Perception.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So Perception, as you sort of mentioned, is a first-person horror, thriller, psychological type game where you play as a blind woman who's going to this mansion, and she's not really sure why she's going to it, but she knows she has to be there because she remembers 4 items. I think it was a tree, an apple, a rope, and something else. And she said this right at the beginning, so it's not spoilers or anything. So she gets in there, and she starts walking around looking at stuff, and they introduce this mechanic where you use your cane to tap on things, and it works like echolocation. So you tap a surface, and then the louder the surface is, it casts sound waves around, and then you can sort of see, quote unquote, what you're walking around. Little by little, they introduce horror elements. There's some creepy stuff that goes on. They start throwing stuff around. Phantoms start appearing. And then about an hour or so into the game, there's actually an enemy. I'm just sort of explaining the general consensus about how the game even works, just so you understand the framework of it. But that's not the interesting bit.
Yeah.
The interesting bit is that they're using a character that is blind. And also, the more interesting bit is that the mansion may not even be physically real. As you get further into the game, it starts to morph into other things. And they do basically 4 acts, and each act is a different set piece that the mansion is involved in.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first one, there's this story about a woman who loves her baby so much, and then some bad thing happens with the family, and then there's fire, and I don't want to explain too much because spoilers, but
Sure.
Then eventually it transitions into being about World War I, and then there's a new cast of characters, and the whole mansion changes completely. There's different rooms, there's different things going on in it. There's like a brothel in it. There's a bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense to be there, like trenches with mud and barbed wire and shit. And that was the best chapter, by the way, the second one, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the framework that the game runs through. You're exploring stuff. There's phantoms chasing you around, and then there's weird story happening, and you're supposed to go and collect stuff, try and figure out the story while you're avoiding getting killed. How did I think of the game was? I didn't actually love it all that much. The first chapter was a really rough introduction to it, I thought. They try to play it off as if it's almost simulatory, like you're a real person in a real situation and things are really scary. And then all of a sudden everything kind of morphs into being cerebral, and then you don't really have any connection to reality anymore. Like she's getting phone calls from someone that they don't really explain who they are very well, but they're like always really far away, and then they're in a plane or trying to get to a plane, and it all just kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It just feels muffled a little bit, or muddled. I really wanted to like it, though. The second chapter brought it back a lot. There was some interesting voice acting, some good bits going on with that. It's about a woman who's in love with this man who goes off to the war, and she really misses him, and she wants to be back with him, so she tries to figure out a way to go across to Europe, and stuff happens in the course of that, and of course it's sad and horrible because horror game. But that just unfortunately didn't carry the whole thing, because it's actually a fairly long game. I think it's about maybe 5 or 6 hours. And that one particular set piece is it was cool, but it was only a third or a fourth of that, unfortunately. The other thing is the premise being that you can't see. It's a great idea, but in execution, I'm not sure if it works as well as they wanted it to. Reason being, everything starts to look a bit the same. When you're dealing with a situation that nothing is really real, right, to the player, it's all kind of morphing. All the rooms are blue, and all of them have house stuff in them. And you can't really see more than about 3 or 4 feet in front of you. So you're just kind of wandering about in this big abyss that you can only see a little bit around you, and you're running from stuff and trying to hide, but you can't tell where you're running to. So after a bit of that, it gets a little bit frustrating, and I was thinking maybe a better way to do it, instead of them have it that you're constantly tapping and making noise, which then attracts the bad thing. Maybe you tap your cane, and then whatever you tap stays lit up, like Fog of War, essentially. And that would give them a nice way to be able to use like a specter, which would then be like a black silhouette against the things that you can see. Of course, that's suspending your disbelief, because you'd have to have like photorealist or perfect memory, essentially photographic memory. But we're already suspending our disbelief in that she can't see, and yet we can see. So I don't know. Great premise, good ideas, but execution was a bit flawed. I saw this did not particularly review the best. I think the Metacritic was 56. And I'm wondering if people had the same kind of complaints that I did. It's too bad none of you got to play it, because I'm kind of curious if you would find the same frustration in what I did.
So, based on what I'm seeing, I'm Dr. Video Game, and I'm going to diagnose your game with 2 diseases, okay, based off this. So, the first is Splinter Cell Syndrome, and I think you've already confirmed the existence of it for me, where you're forced to use this special kind of vision that resorts in the entire game looking exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it does have that? Okay, so that's
the only option. There is no other option.
Right. Because it is
you either don't see anything at all, or it's dark blue.
Okay, and then the other... I shouldn't call them diseases. That's mean. The other issue is I think it might also have that Outlast 2 problem that you described, where the entire story maybe is told via, notes and bits of paper, or maybe even like little recordings that you find throughout. It's all audio recordings and listening to thoughts that aren't actually there. It's all very ethereal, very floaty, ghostly kind of stuff. And that's kind of a staple of a lot of horror games, really. But does it bother you in this one like the way it did in Outlast 2?
It bothers me less than in Outlast 2, because there's at least some more interesting stuff, like versatile stuff going on in this, versus Outlast. The theme never changes. It's always there's scary rednecks chasing you, always.
Right.
Except for when you go to the creepy school, I guess. But, You get the idea. Yeah, in this, there's at least some different ideas at play, some different ways that they approach horror. But ultimately, you're right, it is kind of the same situation in that it's just little set-piece bits with strewn about audio logs, sort of like Doom 3 kind of.
Yeah.
And also, I really just hate hiding in places and waiting for something to leave you alone. That's just like, I wish that would stop being a thing in horror games. The punishment for being caught, by the way, is you hear an awful sound, and then you're teleported back to the start point of the chapter. Not that you have to repeat all the actions, but you just have to navigate back to where you were in the mansion.
Huh.
So, again, when the problem is all the rooms look the same and your punishment is navigate the mansion again, it's like, it's a little tedious, you know?
Yeah, I can definitely understand that.
I have a lot of criticism about horror in general. I think that the genre is generally almost always done wrong in video games. And I think this one aspired to something a bit better, but unfortunately the execution fell a bit short. The other thing is the price point was $30 as of, I think, like a week ago, and now it's down to $22, so that's better. But I don't think I would have paid more than $10 for it and been happy about it. If only for the fact that like it's a fairly long game, so if you're in it for that and you're very prone to getting very involved in horror games, the atmosphere is okay, but you might find it a bit frustrating as well. So I would buy it on sale maybe, but I have a hard time recommending it, honestly.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you see people's faces, does the blind lady see the pupils in their eyes?
No.
Okay.
Everything is sort of abstracted. Like, you don't see detail to that degree at all.
Because this is something that pissed me off about the Daredevil movie. Is, you know, when he sees like the raindrops, and then he's looking into her eyes, and he can see her pupils. Like, how can he see her pupils? He can't see her pupils.
Yeah, that's a good
That
point.
doesn't make any sense.
It's actually kind of a brilliant way to make a game in that they don't actually have to texture anything, and all of the meshes that they make don't have to be particularly detailed. Now, I know this is not them like shirking doing the due diligence of making a video game. It's just coincidentally, it's like a nice way to have a good polished production that they don't have to do all that stuff on.
I just like to believe that in a meeting they were like, yo, if we do it this way, we don't have to texture anything.
Yeah. I mean, the game looks okay. The polish and production value of it is fine. And I didn't really have much in the way of glitches either, so it's polished enough. It's just, it falls a bit short.
Sure.
I never thought I'd get to the point where, like, this gimmick is so played out that I'm not interested in the game at all.
What gimmick?
Like, the like blind
You
plus
can't see.
echolocation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, because it was also done in Pulse, which was like a student game 4 years
And-
ago or something like that.
Beyond Eyes and Devil's Tuning Fork. That's at least 4 there. I know there's more than that, too.
There's another game coming out this year called Stifled, which is a first-person horror game where you can't see. But that one, you actually are supposed to speak into the microphone to echolocate. So there's like, it's so done that they're like doing twists on
other twists that have also already been done, because there's another game where you have to speak into the mic to cast spells.
Yeah.
Wait,
Guys,
guys.
in Verbis Viridis, I remember that
That's the one.
I've got my DS here. I gotta blow out this candle.
Well, I don't mean to be overly dismissive. I don't think the game deserves mockery. It's just like, it needs a little bit more than what it has.
I can't wait to see the Twitch streams of that voice command horror game. Here's me playing that. Penis. Echolocation. Penis.
Well, you saw B-Rex did in Verbis, or in whatever the name is called, in Verbis.
In Verbis Virtus, yeah.
Yeah, and he was just saying really offensive things over and over again. Like,
Classic.
over and over and over and over again.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, so that's Perception. Probably don't buy it unless it's really on sale. Or if you really like that concept, I guess.
Seems like it would rely pretty heavily on that idea. It's that's more or less
It's all
the whole
that idea.
game. Yeah.
It seems cool. I would play it, but probably not for $30 though.
Well, it's $22 now. $22.99.
Would you play it for $22.99?
Probably.
Would you play it for $17.99?
Where can we get you?
Yeah, when's the price point come in?
Probably like $15 to $10. Then I'd be like, I got $10 laying around.
I already hate navigating in 3 dimensions to begin with. So I think like hiding that information from myself is just a bad mix for me personally.
Yeah.
It didn't.
You know, there was another twist too. The more you tap with your staff or the cane, the more likely you are to have a demon chasing you. So the more you want to see, the more you're punished.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's annoying.
Yeah, that's what you get for
Don't do that.
trying to
Stop
use your
that.
eyes.
I'll play that one where you go down to hell. When's that coming out? That one looks
Oh,
cool.
yeah, Nick played that.
Yeah.
Which one do you go down? I played a lot of games. You go
You
down to
have,
hell.
yeah. No, there was
It
one
was
in
like-
particular. It was, it looks
Kickstarter
really
demo.
nice. Yeah, there was a Kickstarter. I think it's Agony.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Agony looks amazing.
That looks really cool.
It's one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. I can't wait for that.
Cool. All right. That's Perception. Came out on May 30th. $23 on Steam. It's available right now. Roberto, tell me about Tower Unite, please, because I know you are just very, very passionate about this one.
I actually really so here's the thing. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I played it back on when it's the Gary's Mod game mode.
Yeah.
And it was called Gmod Tower. And I had played with a couple of YouTubers, a couple other Gmod game modes, and like some of them are fun, but they're always just like it's a game mode, right? You know, it's just like Trouble in Terrorist Town. You just go around and you do the thing and whatever.
Yeah.
It's simple. And now I played a lot of mods in my day, a lot. Okay, from a long period of modding, playing. Gmod Tower, honestly, was one of the most impressive mods I've ever seen. They basically what you see in the standalone version is what you had in Gmod Tower. Obviously,
So what happened then?
well, Tower Unite it's a lot prettier, and funnily enough, it works a lot better. So
It works a lot better?
yeah, well, so mainly it's like they have a bunch of those game modes, the mini games that you have in Tower Unite. By the way, in case anybody doesn't know what Tower Unite is, it's a virtual theme park, basically, like an amusement park. There's a bunch of mini
Like
games.
PlayStation Home.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
It's like
But,
what PlayStation Home wanted to be.
Right. Yeah. But it's cool, and they had like go karts, like a Mario Kart type game mode in the Gary's Mod version. But they had like this really smart architecture about it because there was just one plaza server, and then when you queued into a game mode, it would actually load you into a different server on Gmod for the different things. But they didn't really work that well, most of them.
So it's like a server browser that's 3D.
Yeah, like that's how it worked on Gmod.
Wait,
but
I want you to continue your thought here, but I just need to point out in the trailer, they have this elaborate setup for like a 2-second clip on the roof of the building where like they built a basketball hoop out there with a trampoline underneath it, but in the clip, the ball just doinks off the rim and plummets down to the ground. They don't even make the shot. They don't even use the trampoline.
that's
Sorry,
Yep,
anyway, go
all
ahead.
right. That sounds like it. Yeah, no. But I don't know. It's cool. I mean, like when it first got into early access, it had only like 3 of the game modes, which I think is the monkey ball one, and I think virus and
Mini
one other
golf?
one, and yeah, no, I think mini golf came later, but I'm not
Oh.
sure. But anyway, and so they're adding a bunch of mini games, and they're going to continue to add the mini games and stuff, and all the other shit that you can do outside of just the mini games, which are other mini games, kind of, but in different areas, like in the casino and in the arcade and shit like that. So I don't know. It's sort of it's almost like to use a chef's word, deconstructed Mario Party.
No, I don't know that applies.
Yeah, I don't think it does either. But it's
Good try,
it's pretty fun though. I enjoy it. It's just it's nice having something where you can just go in and fuck around for a while, you know, and just do whatever you want, and nothing really matters. The points don't really matter, you know. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's a virtual gathering space. It's like
Yeah.
a boardwalk at a, if you go to like Seaside Heights, just
Mhm.
like a whole bunch of weird shit to go do with your friends.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we pointed out when we were hanging out with Josh playing it, it's very much like when we actually hang out together. We just can't make up our minds on what we want to do. We go in every direction.
Mhm.
And that's what we did in that.
Mhm.
But we got to be followed by skeletons that shoot bubble guns,
yeah,
and that's fun.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's a good time.
I think it's like actually terrible, but I really like playing it. Like
That's fair.
there is almost no part of that game that stands on its own merits at all.
Yeah.
Ball race, sort of. But if there was like a standalone ball race game, you would be like, this is too shallow to survive. Like everything else sort of, I mean, Virus is terrible, in my opinion.
No, Virus is terrible.
Like,
Yeah, I didn't like
it's
that.
really
That
bad.
was really bad. Yeah.
The typing race is
It's a typing
gimmick.
race.
You type,
typing race,
and,
Hey, it's cool you
fight
can watch
against
the
other
horses
people.
when you're not playing. You can
It
watch other
is.
people play it.
It is cool that you can watch the horses. I enjoy that game in particular. There's a virtual casino.
We had a pretty good time with, what was it, Planet?
No, Planet Panic is
Planet
bad.
Panic.
I
Planet
like
Panic's
Planet
awesome.
Panic.
Planet Panic is like it's like whacked for the original Xbox. It's just not good. Play 45 minutes of Planet Panic and then come back and tell me with a straight face and no fingers crossed that was a good use of your
I
time.
wonder if you're maybe holding it to too high of an expectation. I think it doesn't try to be that good. I think it just wants to be a silly diversion
This
to play
is
with your friends.
it's the brown square Twitch emote
Oh
argument
my
now.
God.
Come on.
Wow.
No, it is janky. I agree. It's just I don't think it needs to be that good.
But it's not good as well. Like
It's a jack of all. It's a jack of all trades. It's a master of none. That's the kind of game. it
yeah,
is, you
yeah.
know?
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's a you go in and you want to do a bunch of different, maybe not so great game modes, as opposed to like going in and playing one game mode
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a while. You know what I mean?
I like it because of the absurdity. I think it's like Move or Die, but also there's a server browser where you fly around with jetpacks and stuff. I like it as an experience. Like genuinely, I'm having a fun time playing it. But I do think that it's almost every single game in it is bad.
It's such a
The
weird caveat.
The
man.
golf is undefendable. Like
Yeah,
it's
that's pretty
actually just the worst version of mini golf I've ever seen.
I'm really disappointed by that too. I was very much looking forward to it,
I
but the
heard the
physics are
enthusiasm
absolutely
in your
terrible.
voice, man, when you were first going to boot that up. Damn.
I
It
love
was
mini golf.
laggy, It was
You can't make a mini golf game that works that badly and want to play it.
yeah.
The physics did nothing. It's so floaty. There's no friction.
Yeah.
That's all mini golf is friction.
That's like the first part. you gotta
Like, how do
make
you
sure
get past the we need to make a mini golf game, let's make a ball that rolls. Okay, we didn't do that, but let's put it up anyway. What? I know it's an early access too, but like, come on.
We are, yeah.
Laser tag is not amazing. Laser
okay,
tag
though.
is okay.
It's competent.
I'm not asking for every game to be like the most incredible standalone experience. Laser tag is like a demo version of like a multiplayer first-person shooter.
I think for that game to be fun, though, like, the games just all have to be competent. They don't have to be great. They just have to be playable.
I sort of agree.
And outside of, like, I think golf is not playable.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Texas Hold'em is obviously not playable.
It's broken
because
every
that's broken.
time you tried to use it
Yeah.
as 6 people on a 5-person table, and then you all have to
Yes.
quit.
So, like, but outside of those two and probably something else, like, the rest of them are competent, and I think that's really all you need with that kind of game.
Bowling was also incompetent.
Yeah, that's probably not playable, too.
And
Yeah.
Virus, I would rather
Have a
like
virus.
do my taxes than play Virus again.
Yeah. Funny enough, Virus might be competent, but I don't want to play it at all.
Virus
Yeah.
is, I stand by that being one of the worst ways you could spend your time recreationally. The games are as good as London 2012. Virus is not as good as London 2012.
They should
I'm
add-
sure any of them are, actually.
I'll put Virus up against anything in London 2012, including like men's 5-kilometer rowing.
No, you know what? I would rather do Virus than Skulls. Like,
Oh,
Definitely.
I mean,
I
don't
definitely
think so.
would.
The slot machines work basically perfectly, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good.
To
And
this game's credit, the slot machines are perfectly functioning.
They
So,
have emulated the idea of pulling a lever and watching something spin.
so well done to
Yeah.
them. We should introduce this caveat again, the fact that this is early access. This is version 0.3 of the game, so a lot of this stuff is still. It's got plenty of time to be fixed. But they
It's
have
$15, right? Like it's
Yes.
pretty cheap.
yeah,
Mhm.
and the
especially for the amount of content you get.
right, yeah. Well, I mean theoretically, but right.
Right.
But yeah, I think this is like a very contradictory recommendation for
Because
us.
it's greater than the sum of its parts is the thing.
I suppose
If you have
yeah.
fun hanging out with your friends and you like stupid, absurd shit, this is fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's not a good game. But
Yeah.
if you like your friends, you'll have fun anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree
Mhm.
with that.
You're not going to walk away from it like you're walking away from, like, FTL like, wow, this is a transcendent experience. You're just like, it's fun. It's fun to bullshit and fuck around for a while.
Like, if everything worked, if every mini game was like serviceable and like at least playable and was not like
fun.
Not even good, but just like an acceptable version of that game, this would be great.
Yeah,
it'd be a lot of fun.
My one tip to them, and it's not because of my bias, but I think that they should spend all of their time and money making the mini golf game work perfectly, and then use that as your poster child and say this is primarily a mini golf game, but there's all this other shit too.
Nah, dude, they got Ball Race working already. They got to disguise this as it's Super Monkey Ball with other games.
Ball Race does not work perfectly. The latency makes you fall off ledges a lot.
That's true, actually. I forgot about that. Yeah, the fact that when you start up Ball Race, if you're not the host, you just kind of have to wait until the game decides you can go.
I'm still mad about yesterday's show. Everyone's like, oh, I can't get the watermelons because of this connection. Go watch Monday's show where 40 people just die at the start of every round because they can't move. It's a different
It was
story.
like 15, 20 seconds of just waiting for the loading to fix itself before you can move.
Yeah.
And the race is still going on. People are going ahead of you, but you just can't move.
Right.
It's not
That's one
very
thing
fun.
I will say about the game too is that like the first time you load up the plaza takes about like maybe 5 million years. So like it's that's a bad time, but also understandable to a degree.
There was one game we never played, Little Crusaders. What is that?
Yeah, why did we not play that?
Well, we still have to. There's still
I
another game to play.
hold out no hope for it being any fun, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still enough fun shit in that game. Anything you can have the roller coaster and then all the other casino.
You could ride the one roller coaster over and over.
The roller coaster is not actually open for business yet. You can walk on the rails if you want. Or if you get a jetpack.
The midway could be a little bit of a saving grace. Like, typing race is okay, and the fact that you're competing against the other people in the server is fun. You know what actually works really well is they incentivize the gameplay loop with the credit system really well. Like, constantly giving you unlocks and rewards. It's like the same principle of being at, like, a shitty carnival, and you're like, I don't really want to play the Deal or No Deal arcade cabinet, but I can win some tickets if things go right. So there's like a little extra, like a reward outside.
It's a meta reward.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it itself is not rewarding to play like a Tetris or something like that, but you get something for it, so it feels a little better.
That's actually the core of the game for me as well. And I haven't even gone to my condo yet. But I'm gonna buy TVs. I'm gonna buy whatever else you could buy and put it all over the condo.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that or do anything with that. There's a movie theater in there. Like there's the one in Gary's mod where you just put up anything on the internet on there, which is cool. That's interesting
and scary.
Right? Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. That would be. Yeah, can't do that on stream. But
I'm just up in Club 12 watching porn with my boys. You got a problem?
But we could theoretically get like an NLSS server of this game and just like have movie night there if we wanted.
Yeah. I actually think this Sunday on my own stream I'm going to do movie night. I think I might do it in Tower for fun. See what it's like.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then you'll just have people jumping in front of your viewpoint constantly.
Yeah.
And shooting bubble guns and whatever else, the particle effects they've got, confetti.
You know what? Thinking again, maybe I won't do that.
Yeah. Nobody's going to watch it. They're just going to all make a mess.
Yeah.
I think if they added, like, when they have target practice, more of those, like, little mini games that you actually cannot mess up. Like, I understand how you can mess up.
Mini golf you can't mess up.
They got to crank the friction stat from like 0 to 0.2 or something.
Yeah.
Because it's just, your ball just slides along. It has the perception of sliding along green ice, basically. Yeah.
Really thinking about it, like how much is there involved with mini golf? You got to program the courses, obviously, and then you got to program friction and hitting the ball. And then, like, responses to different things, I guess.
It's not nothing.
Yeah,
but
no, I don't want to, like, diminish it,
things,
but I'm just really genuinely wondering, like, how much it goes into it.
It's primitives interacting, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
You need to establish a rule set that feels intuitive to people, that, like, when I hit a ball with this much power, this is the distance that it goes, and this is how it slows down. And then you just build courses around that.
Yeah.
That's my perception, at least, is that You just make a physics engine that's coherent, and then not even a physics engine. You make interactions that are coherent, and then you just build levels.
Sure.
And funny enough, the levels they made were actually really nice looking, which is why it was extra disappointing that it wasn't fun to play.
It was also just really laggy. I think that was part of it. Like you would hit the ball and then it'd be like,
and then it jumps backward.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was so that maybe if they fix that, then it could be competent.
It's peer to peer, right? For the most part, or like
unfortunately.
I think so.
It's got the servers for the plazas, but then I believe like when you actually are connecting to a game, it sits a host, and then everybody has to connect to that.
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember Habbo Hotel, or even like that Coke Studio game, or whatever the hell that was, where you made your own
Coke Studio?
Do you remember that one?
No, but that sounds like a really illicit thing they do in California.
Yeah.
You remember Habbo Hotel though, right? You do.
I
remember
sold
Habbo
those
Hotel.
points cards to people at GameStop constantly, but I never knew what it was.
It was
Is
like
it a chat room?
It's like this social gathering thing. That's why it reminds me of this, because Habbo Hotel, and like particularly like that Coke Studio game, which
Stop talking about the Coke Studio.
it's Coca-Cola, like my
Like Raw
Coke,
with
and like,
Golgotha.
not Cocaine Studios. No, it's a different thing. I think like the token incentive system, like it reminds me a lot of those games where there's kind of like. There are mini games to be played, but like kind of the drive for a lot of people is just making a really cool apartment or just like a neat little living space for themselves digitally. Which
I was cutting lines.
I didn't see. Thanks for the visual aid.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, like
I never played that, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
That's just reiterating the point, though, is that they actually do a decent job of the token reward system keeps you wanting to play a little more.
They give you a lot of credits too. Like I mean, winning the games, you come out with like 2,000, which is enough to buy a couple of.
Yeah,
games.
I mean, shit, we all got jetpacks within like 30 minutes or something, so that was pretty great.
Yeah,
That seems like a transcendent item. I would think that should be very expensive.
Well, they did put like an accessible area on the roof of the building that you come out of.
Oh,
So
true.
They should probably give you like a way to get up there,
Probably put an elevator up to that as well.
or just like a giant bounce pad.
No.
Like, how about like 100-floor staircase you have to go up?
I'm very much for that.
Make them earn it, right?
And there's ads on every floor that
Yes.
you have to run by.
Little billboards
Unskippable
and drones
15
outside that fly.
They should do that, but then also make it so that the jetpack only costs $10, just to punish the people who didn't look in the store.
Right.
To all of that point, though, they have specifically made a good effort, and they don't have any kind of advertising or outside monetary anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay. After $15, that's it. The whole game is self-contained. All the unlocks are not paid.
True.
Just in-game currency, which you don't pay for. You earn it.
That is cool. I mean, they could add a whole lot of things. I mean, there's a whole lot of easy things that they could add in there that would be fun.
It has lots of potential.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In its current state, though, it is not very good.
Like it's the foundation for something really awesome, but it needs tons and tons of work still to really be that thing.
I mean,
It's also the only thing that exists that's exactly like it, as far as I know.
I was trying to think, is there like something comparable? The only thing I can really think of is Second Life, but that doesn't really even fall in the same ballpark, honestly.
Really, yeah.
The genre of video games is a platform people will use to have cyber sex.
Look at the top 3 candidates.
Are people cybering on Tower Unite? Chat, raise your hand. If you
I bet
cyber
they
on Tower
are.
Unite. Yeah.
I bet if you get into like, U.S. Houston 1 and there's only 3 people on the server, you're inviting people back to your condo.
You join that server, all you're going to see is a skeleton and a milk carton getting it on in the middle of the plaza.
The tiny shirtless boy wearing an inner tube.
and a detached head rolling around behind him.
You could be anything you want in Tower Unite, as long as it's a small boy, a skeleton, or a milk carton.
If you have limited dreams, Tower Unite is for you.
Yeah.
Anything else we missed on this one? It's a crazy experience, man, but it is still in need of some love. They are anticipating coming out of early access in 2018. At least that's their current projection.
Keep in mind when the game first came out and early, this isn't one where an early access game where they're not adding stuff. When it first came out, it only had the 3 mini games and it didn't even have the plaza at all. So, since it's come out in early access, it's added a whole bunch of stuff.
That's almost like
come out
nothing.
at all in that state, right?
Yeah.
Back then, it probably shouldn't have even released it.
Probably
in
not,
that condition.
no, yeah.
The Plaza is kind of the defining element. All the stuff after that kind of branches off of that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's not my game.
Yep. Okay.
Not my game.
That's not my game.
Hashtag.
Plays YouTube videos smoother than when played on YouTube's site itself.
What?
That would very much surprise me. But,
I highly doubt that. Yeah.
There's also another variable of which browser you're using there.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you, in Tower Unite, theoretically,
Sex.
if we were really good at, let's say, typing race, could we amass enough resources, maybe buy out a couple floors of condos in the building, wait till the game takes off, sell them at a ridiculous premium, and live off the proceeds forever?
That's an
I
idea.
like where your head's at. We need to start working on this pronto, though. I need to get
They
a couple of scripts running.
They should let you buy equity in the casino.
Yeah.
Oh, like an in-game
Get
stock
a
market.
percentage,
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I want to lose myself to Tower Unite. I want to be all up in that equity.
And then GTA 5 is just going to crush it. Just
Right.
GTA 5 online, I'll be like, you can't make this.
That
Goodbye.
is, you know what? That is actually like probably the best comparison we can make to something like this right now is GTA 5 Online.
Yeah.
Which is
Which
way
we
better.
should play, by the way. I've been saying that as well. It would be fun.
We did play it, and it was fun, but we should play
we
it
should
more.
play it now. It's got a bunch of mini games in it.
I like the bicycle races.
There's
do like
there's a
those.
bunch of new stuff.
Cool.
There's like a Trackmania style thing now too.
There we go. That's Tower Unite. Early access, currently $15, expected to go out in 2018. They released, if anyone was curious, they released April 8th of last year with that V.001, I assume is what that was. So 0.3.3 is the current version. So whatever that says for you. And let's...
If 1 is released, that doesn't bode well.
Not a great pace, truthfully, but... I'm not. I'm not.
Sorry, I kind of
developer.
exploded there when I realized.
We like it though. Like we're jabbing it quite a bit, but we had a good time. Genuinely, I think all of us did. So
It's bad but fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan, tell me about Antihero.
Antihero is essentially a digital board game themed around a master thief in the Victorian age. It's also, even more so than a digital board game, it's easier to think of it, I guess, as a turn-based strategy game. So you do things that build up your economy, and you're trying to you're using that economy to purchase units that will help you achieve goals that give you victory points, essentially. So you play as a thief avatar that can burgle buildings to get gold. You can have units that can infiltrate these buildings and generate other resources that can advance your tech tree. And you're playing against a variety of AI with different play styles and different strategies that they use to approach the game as well. It is reasonably fun, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, BaerTaffy?
Oh yeah, you want to just pass that off? That sounds good. I echo that sentiment. I played 3 hours today.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Okay.
It hooked me actually. At the start, it definitely hooked me, but then it kind of lost its luster after I saw like most of the mechanics, if not all of them. I think I might have seen by that point. So, like you said, there's units that you use throughout the game that all do different things. You've got your urchins, which are just the little guys that you populate the different buildings in the town with, and the different buildings will give you different benefits. So, for example, you have the two economic gains, which are the gold and the lanterns. The lanterns you use to upgrade, and then the gold you use to buy units. And you're trying to balance control of all these different buildings, all the meanwhile, of course, gathering victory points, a la Settlers of Catan or something like that. And it's all about this very delicate, fine balance between offense and defense, economy building and growth, and managing upgrades and that kind of thing. And I think it's balanced fairly well. I want to say that point right out of the gate, that I think the balance is pretty good, to the point where most things feel justifiable in their use, apart from maybe like what was his name? The dude that takes the urchins out of the buildings.
The truant
officer.
officer. Not the treant officer.
No.
That's
Lord of the Rings
That's
version.
Warcraft 3.
Yeah. Did you? I don't know. Maybe that was just me. He seemed like he was kind of useless at a certain point, though, just because, like, what he does is he removes the urchins from the buildings, but you can get that ability on other units as well. So it's kind of hit or miss.
I don't know. Like, I never used the truant officer actually because I found I only played maybe 6 chapters.
That's about what I
the
played
campaign.
too.
All right.
Yeah.
I use like almost exactly the same strategy every time. Like I would like level 1, I'd get the cooking, which allows you to get urchins, and then I would start building my economy. Then I would focus on like getting attacks and extra moves on the Master Thief. And basically I would just do all the assassination contracts every time and then try to steal victory points via like the church or bribes at the last minute. Yeah. So it ended up like I thought it was reasonably well balanced on level 2, like you said, but I also was never punished for using the same strategy over and over. Like, except for one of the pseudo tutorial missions, I never even came close to losing. After like turn 4, it was like, I cannot lose. There is no lose condition anymore. I'm generating more of every resource than the other person, and I mean, unless they do something I'm unfamiliar with, they can't beat me. So, at the same time, though, I find like myself completely disinterested in playing versus any other human.
Really?
Because I don't want to lose.
No.
I don't want to spend my leisure time losing.
You think you're at
in a strategy game.
Peak enjoyment level of this, having only experienced victories.
I think my platonic ideal for strategy video games is an AI that challenges you but literally never wins. I never want to feel like I'm steamrolling them, but I always want to feel like I won in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. To lose in a strategy game, I've done it enough in my life. It holds no appeal to me right now.
You got to that campaign mission then where you had to take out the different gangs from the guy. What's his? I don't remember his name, but he had you had to kill all 3 gangs before you could actually win that mission. Did you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The last one I did was capturing. You had to capture 2 guard towers and then burgle the palace in the center of the screen.
So the next one after that actually may have forced you to change up your strategy. That one was the one I got stuck on because it was kicking my ass trying to use that, just kind of hoard and sit back and, inevitably you win kind of strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was super aggressive, so he kind of forces you to respond to that and kind of build around trying to kill the gangs as quickly as possible. So there's a little bit more nuance and strategy introduced, I guess, later on in the campaign. But I think the best experience for this will be that PvP, and I kind of wanted to try it out, honestly. But it is, I don't know, it's a little tedious too, truthfully. Like, especially if you end up having to replay a campaign mission, which I assume that you didn't. But like for that particularly one that I just mentioned, that one I had to do like 2 or 3 times. And by the time I did it the 3rd time, the first like 3 or 4 turns are just so boring. It's just like I know exactly what I'm doing. I just got to click and wait for all the animations to finish and all that stuff. So it like the replayability is a little low, I think. But I am very curious whether the PvP is interesting at all, because I think like playing against a human, that would change this game like dramatically.
Yeah, I actually said the same thing in my video. It was like I failed the 3rd tutorial mission, and the tutorial missions are like 20 minutes long each. So I failed it at like 18 minutes. You're like, and you're like, okay. I wish they auto-saved. It kind of takes a little bit of the consequence out of it if it auto-saved like every turn or something like that. But at the same time, I'm like, I know what it was the mission with the truant officer for the first time. I was like, I know what the truant officer does. It goes like, get an urchin and put him in this building, and I'm like, I don't want to do that because the truant officer is scripted to come down there and take my dude away to teach me what he does. So
I've seen this movie.
Yeah, I'd really prefer not to do that on this turn if possible. But at the same time, playing it through again was worse than meaningless. It was actually just annoying.
Yeah.
So, So, I mean, I think that's a small problem with it. I agree with you in that. And then the other thing is, I mean, I don't hinge my enjoyment on the multiplayer because I've seen, like, I have no faith in an indie game to cultivate a multiplayer community anymore. Everybody's playing Battlegrounds. It's like 98% of people on Steam are playing Battlegrounds right now. There's not enough food to go around for everybody else. So I guess but I also, like, I'm not compelled to, like, set up games. Like I will set up games for Nidhogg 2 if that ends up being decent, but I have no interest in playing it against other people. Although I understand that on an intellectual level, it's a nice feature.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, same, honestly. I don't know if I'll ever end up trying to play this PvP, but it is it's certainly interesting. And I want to, like, get to that late game period as well. I feel like this game would blossom if it got to the point where, like, it's turn 15 or something, and both sides have like 4 or 5 victory points out of 6 or 7, and then you've got to manage your resources, manage like all 6 different units, looking at the entire board that you've scouted, seeing where they have people, seeing where you have people. Like, I feel like at that point this game would get really, really interesting, but it's, you know, it takes a long time to get there, first of all. Like, it does take a while to play through up to that point, and then second of all, it's just like not really all that compelling getting to there. Like, the mid to late game excels, but otherwise, meh.
The other problem I think that it has, and I think it's good, but I think it's the way you moved your mic arm made me think you were doing like a slow, dramatic zoom in on you there. That was, I thought it was really good. But I think the game is pretty good. But on a lot of those, even like Mission 4, Mission 5, you can win the game before you ever see the enemy thief.
Yeah.
So oftentimes it just feels like you're playing against nothing. Like you're playing ping pong, but with the board like halved, so you're just bouncing it against the table. Which is kind of
Forrest Gump.
It did work for Forrest Gump, but that was a really good table. Is the thing.
Yeah,
it was a world class table, which allowed him to become one of the best players in the world. Exactly. But yeah, it's just a lot of the time you don't see, at least I didn't see the person that I was going up against. And I understand that these are early missions in the game, but I do have like 2 hours in it, and like at some point the tutorial's gotta stop.
Yeah, I agree.
So what are the long-term prospects for it then, Bear? If you think you've seen it all in about 3 hours, do you think this is a game with legs at all, or do you think you've kind of moved past that already? Unless you want to do PvP, which it sounds like you're not interested in.
I mean, I would totally do it if any of you guys wanted to. Let me throw that offer out there. If you guys want to try the PvP of this, I would do it for sure. But it's just I like it, which is weird. Like I like it. I think it's a good game, but you are, I think, at this point competing with the cream of the crop. Like 2017 has been a hell of a year for video games, and we really got we have to play the best things, and this isn't. It's not one of the best things, unfortunately. I think there's an audience for this game for sure. I think the people that like games like Political Animals, for example, we talked about that a few months ago. If you like a game like that, this is kind of similar. Like Ryan said, like if you're a fan of tabletop games that are similar to this, or Settlers of Catan or something similar, you'd probably be interested in playing this. But it's not great, but it is good. That's my ending point there, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually with you like 100%.
Okay.
I think that it is even worth playing, but it's not like I'm breathlessly like coming into the Skype group and being like, you have to play Antihero.
Yeah.
But I don't regret the time that I spent in it. And there are some games that I play for Let's Look At, so I'm like, I am so happy this video's done. Because I never have to touch this game again. So this was not one of those experiences. I think it's pretty good.
Good. Cool.
It looked cool. Got like that clay art style that they're kind of aping.
A little bit, yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah.
The aesthetic is very secondary to the actual mechanics, in my opinion. And I don't know. It's just like,
this is.
I feel bad because it's like smartly designed.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't matter that much. Like it's not. I don't know. I guess I'm struggling to recommend it more because I want to, because I think it's clever. But I think it's clever, not necessarily that fun, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's a solo project too.
I believe that's the case.
Tim Conkling.
Which is really impressive.
Yeah,
actually.
honestly, I would just want to mention that. That makes it all the more impressive, really. But yeah, there we go. That is Antihero. It's available. Just came out July 10th. It is on sale at the moment for $13.49, regularly $15. And there we go. Let's take it into the big mamma jamma. As the end is nigh, the new hotness from Edmund McMillan and Ty Lale. Super Meat Boy 2, in a manner of speaking, right?
Give or take, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nick, you want to take the reins?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, Super Meat Boy 2 kind of says a lot of it, but if you add on a veneer of like a VVV style overworld where you can kind of explore at your own leisure, that gives you a better picture. The thing is, though, this game is more than just a really hard platformer. It also sort of evolves as you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not particularly deep in story or anything, so don't worry too much about that. It's got very much the Edmund McMillan touch, that cute / macabre thing, very much exaggerated to another level. But there's not only just a ton of levels in the main area. There's secret cartridges to unlock, tumors to collect, which unlock more areas, which then contain more secret cartridges. Other stuff that I don't want to spoil, and essentially the game is massive. You don't get the idea right away, but as you play it, you realize more and more this game has a lot of content. Also, the difficulty scaling seems really pretty cool in that it starts at a really accessible range, gets pretty hard, and then kind of tapers a little bit, and then all of a sudden gets extremely fucking hard. And I'm just about hitting that stuff now. As of last night, I've 100%ed all of the main game.
Wow.
But that doesn't mean much because the main game is like half of the game. So, yeah, I've 100%ed it, but I'm like 50% done with it.
Jeez, that's wild.
Yeah.
That hadn't even occurred to me. Rob, what are your impressions thus far?
I really like it. It's very good. The music choices are definitely interesting. A lot of people have said they really enjoy the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, it's all just like classical music remixed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's neat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's got the Ed McMillan platformer vibe to it. Like if you like Super Meat Boy, you'll definitely like this. If you're looking for another one of those, it's really pretty too. Actually, like I actually think that. I mean, I was gonna say like it's not as much, or it hasn't been talked about as much, but but it is actually a very pretty game. A lot of the lighting elements are really interesting. It does seem sort of like the Super Meat Boy style, but like updated with modern lighting effects and stuff like that. And it's cool. It's a lot of fun. I am critical about a few aspects of it, but we could save that for the second phase, I guess, if you prefer. But
Sure.
No, I mean overall, I really like it. I'm enjoying it. I'll play more of it. I don't think I'm gonna 100% it like Nick is.
Well,
but,
I may have overcommitted because, may or may not have, depending on your perspective. So I found out that the game is drastically harder in the stuff that I hadn't gotten to yet, to the point where it's like, I want to be the guy fan game levels of difficulty.
Oh, shit.
So that part scares me a little bit. I'm hesitant, but I want to say I can do it. I don't know yet. But on the other hand, since I found out I 100% of the basic game as of last night, technically I did it.
Yeah.
There you go.
That might be your goal if you are playing on a Super Meat Boy Light World level of skill, to 100% the main game and not the auxiliary areas.
Yeah.
Actually, the way that the levels progress is actually pretty interesting. Like it's not dissimilar from Meat Boy in that it really is sort of like a linear-ish progression through the levels. Yet you don't have a level screen, so it's sort of a superficial thing a little bit. But it's also that, even though it's sort of superficial, or I feel it's sort of superficial, it's nice. It's a nice way to progress through the game. I actually kind of like it. So
it's structured like a pitchfork, essentially. You start out on the left end of the handle, and then there's a split point, and then you have to go 3 different ways and collect pieces of the body of the friend you want to make to accompany you to the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sweet.
Ryan, thoughts?
So I've only played the hour that we've done on the show.
Really?
Yeah. So I feel like I'm a little bit still in the first act of The End Is Nigh. I don't have any complex thoughts on it at all.
Okay.
Right now I'm I haven't gotten to anything it has not been tough at all to defeat a level, so I know I'm still early in the game. I haven't gotten every tumor, Everybody else that I watch play the game gets every tumor.
Dude, I skip a few.
I'm glad to hear that.
I
watched
got all of
Mathis. I watched Mathis try to get like a tumor in the first world for like 8 minutes last night, and I was like, I hate this. This is the. I don't enjoy this at all. But I don't know. I got a long way to go, I guess. But I will say, not to just be like the voice of dissent, I don't find myself compelled to like finish it ASAP. I've been having an okay time with it, but I also feel like it's kind of.
Oh, what's the word?
That's
what's
a
the
long
word?
run-up.
Like,
He's wiggling his head so like a snake right now.
like a deprecated genre to some extent.
Do
damn,
go on.
They don't make them like that anymore. You know, like this, it really reminds me of being back in like 2008, 2009, 2010, where it's like every game is, every indie developer needs to have like one hard platformer in their portfolio. And I'm kind of like, nah, we make roguelites now. That's why every indie developer needs a roguelite in their portfolio. So I don't think it resonates.
Edmund's
with me.
covered that, if you haven't noticed.
He's covered this too, though. Yeah, I mean, actually, it is. It has no novelty to it, I guess, is where I'm coming at it from. So, like, as soon as I got into it, I was like, what do you think? What is the spectrum on which you criticize or praise a game like this? Puzzle design, do the controls feel tight, and I guess like music and graphics, and it's fine. Like I think it does control perfectly fine, even though I know people have complained about, because when you play Meat Boy, you hold the right trigger the whole time, so you got to unlearn that. And I mean, apart from that, I think it's like competent, but I also am just sort of like not that excited about a tough as nails platformer in 2017. The concept of it just doesn't excite me that much. Doesn't mean it's bad.
I played it for like 16 hours over the course of 2 days, and I was not eating because I just couldn't stop playing it. I get really addicted to that kind of game, and it feels really good when you win. It's just that adrenaline rush. It's that same, you try a thing for a while, eventually you succeed, you feel like you get a little better. It's just a positive cycle that pushes you on into the harder stuff, and it has reinforced that very well. I want to hear what Rob's complaints are, because I have some as well. I don't think it's a perfect game, but I didn't think Meat Boy was a perfect game either. What do you think, Rob?
Actually, it kind of ties into what Ryan was just saying about the right trigger thing. The way it's not entirely clear when you start the game about what right trigger does, which is that it'll drop you off of platforms. And in that way, it can like you
guys are being so careful.
Yeah,
come on,
no,
let it out.
I'm not. It's not that I'm afraid to shit on it. It's that I'm trying to really explain why that's an annoying feeling, because you're used to playing a game a certain way. And then, and not because I want to hold right trigger all the time, but just because that it just feels odd to me that that'll happen. Also, because of that, it'll fuck up a lot of times. A lot of times, I'll be going through a level, and then I'll forget that I was holding right trigger, and then I'll press it, and then all of a sudden I'm dead. I just gotta start getting the screen again, which is just kind of annoying. The other thing is that the ledge grab. So in order to grab onto a ledge, you have to hold right trigger. Well, you don't have to, but I mean, like, if you're on a platform and you want to get over to the ledge, if you hold right trigger and move to that ledge, you'll speed over and hang on to it. But that's inconsistent. Sometimes it doesn't actually work. Sometimes you'll fly right off, and that has gotten me killed before. And that is in a tight controls platformer like Super Meat Boy. You don't want to feel like you're struggling with the controls or that the controls got you killed. You want to feel like at all times I died because I'm not good enough to complete the level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than the controls kind of fuck me.
That's how I want to feel at all times while playing this.
Yeah.
I want to feel that my skill is inferior, not that the game has fucked me out of
Sure.
a success, which is a thing.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say that I'm slightly critical of is that it's not something that I even really want to be critical of, but because I guess it's just something that you have to learn in the game. I guess it's that if you go in expecting Super Meat Boy, sometimes things just won't match up and they won't make sense in the same design way. So, like, for instance, some tumors, you can't actually get it from the left side of like if you start the screen from the left and go to the right as you always progress through a level, you can't get that tumor. You'd have to go complete that screen and then go back in order to get that tumor, which is somewhat, it's kind of an interesting concept, but at the same time, like, if it's the first time you're seeing a level and you're like, how the fuck do I get that tumor? I could be sitting there for 15 minutes trying to jump and do whatever the fuck I want to do to try to get the tumor, but then realize, I just have to go one screen over. You know what I mean?
I got to piggyback off of that comment because I think that's my most harshly critical point about the design of this. There's inconsistency in the design language in that you do have to double back and go from right to left. However, there are screens where you simply can't do that. There's a bunch of screens where there is no way to get from the full right point to the full left point.
Mm-hmm,
and
right.
I would be okay with that if that was consistent, but it isn't all the time. And not every level is beatable in both directions. So I feel like it should be one or the other, right?
Yeah.
I think that seems logical then.
Yeah.
For what
It's not
worth,
a lot. It's some levels.
I do find it kind of interesting, and it does differentiate the game a little bit, that one of the ways in which you solve puzzles is by resetting the state of the room. By like getting a tumor and then basically leaving to reset and save your progress, or by approaching it from right to left instead of left to right. I do think that's pretty clever.
Or even top to bottom. I mean, there are a bunch of ways you exit screens.
Yeah.
Another inconsistent thing about it, and I really wish you could solve levels in both directions consistently all the time, but another thing that's a little inconsistent is sometimes you jump down from a screen that's above, and arbitrarily there's only one section of the bottom of the screen that you can leave through.
Yeah.
Like there might be an open set of sky tiles, right? And then like 2 platforms, but you can only leave through the center of the platforms, not from the sky tiles next to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a small degree of inconsistency in language that I don't think it's a problem, but it's a little frustrating.
Well, it's one of those things, right, where if you put so if you make a roguelite, say, right, and you put a bunch of pots around the level, and there's 100 pots, and in one of the pots is like a gold coin, and the player finds that gold coin, what's he going to do on all the rest of the levels? He's going to break every single fucking pot. Right?
No.
And
Yeah.
so when you make it inconsistent whether the fall is a way to progress or a fall is going to kill you, then it makes you want to experiment, and it kind of fucks up your consistency on the...
And they use it against you at sometimes because you expect to die in some screens, but they actually use it as a way to warp you to an earlier level that actually just fucks with you.
Right,
just to troll you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'd rather know that I'm about to die and not reset to an earlier level, or not. Like one or the other.
Yeah.
I'll weigh in. Sure. Yeah, I'll take a turn. I'll take a turn. I am, I believe, like 2.5 hours in, and I've.
So what? You're on the second screen.
Got him.
I had a hell of a moment where I got to the part where it's trying to show you how to smash through the destructible blocks. I had no fucking idea what it was trying to tell me.
Yeah, me either, actually. I was very confused by that.
Thank God it's not just me, because I got to that screen, and it was like, hold right trigger and A while you're holding down. And I'm like, oh, okay, that doesn't do anything. What am I learning? And I'm like climbing a platform, raising up there, and just falling down, just looking like a goddamn idiot. And then finally it occurred to me, those are, wants me to jump from higher up. But
which stage did you get the teaching moment from? Because there's 3 different ways you could have learned it, and only one of them teaches you properly, unfortunately.
Dude, you are validating my idiocy so much right now. Thank you. I got to the one that shoots little bullets across, and there's...
so you went up. You went to the SS Exodus.
Exactly. And that screen, I don't feel actually does a good job of teaching it to you.
That's what I learned as well. And by not learned, I mean learned I didn't.
Yeah, but then you go down and you go to the hollow or whatever it is,
yes.
and it's like, oh, there's a giant chasm. You want to down smash. That's what that's trying to teach you. So yeah,
they needed to teach that in the linear path before it splits. That's the only answer there, unfortunately.
Well, those blocks exist before that point too. So it's like, I don't know, that was weird. But
I thought it was like Metroidvania. I thought we were going to learn a skill to break blocks.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I skipped all these secrets I could have gotten if I just knew I could do it.
I absolutely did the same thing. I thought for sure okay, so I can see that like this area isn't accessible with a standard jump yet. So maybe I'm getting a double jump or something, or maybe I'm going to be able to destroy walls at some point. Maybe I'm going to be able to jet across the room.
It was further bolstered by the key blocks that I had no key for, and I was like, well, clearly I'm going to learn a bunch of stuff later.
Uh-huh.
And then, well, I didn't get a key until I think literally the last possible way you could have gotten a key. So I went through the entire game without keys, and then got to do it all again once I got one key. And the funny thing is, there's keys in all of the block key rooms. So when you get one, it basically opens the seam, and you can now go to all of the keys.
Huh.
You know what's a gripe of mine that's not a gripe?
What's that?
This is like a nitpicking and overly critical thing, and I'm fully aware of it. The way that the levels are laid out, it feels like it's just like one step away from a Metroidvania, and it makes me want it to be a Metroidvania.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, like, and I know it's totally nitpicky, but it kind of is like a little bit of like, it's just teasing the nips a little bit. And it's like, I want to see I'm going to be able to make a Metroidvania now, and I kind of wish it was almost more of one.
It looks like it connects so much too, but
yeah,
I mean it does.
It does, yeah, in a yeah.
Not in that way, I guess. Mm-hmm. Which is, you can hardly fault them for that, but yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's not really a gripe that can be a gripe. It's not like like, boy, I sure wish Call of Duty was a 2D action platformer, but it's still, yeah.
Right.
I didn't actually finish my thought before about going back on levels, because there is one really unfortunate consequence of that, and that is if you wanted something on the screen prior, meaning you maybe skipped a secret and then realized after you skipped it there's no way back, you have to restart the whole chapter again to get back to that screen. And if that happens on like level 17 of 20, you're basically just wasting your time to go back one screen. And I just don't get that part. I don't think that feels good.
I agree. That's one of the things that I was saying, like, it is Meat Boy without the level screen.
Right.
And that's the thing that I kind of...
But I like that it's not just levels laid out, like, on a grid.
Me too.
That's fun. But it's almost a Metroidvania and isn't, but it's almost Super Meat Boy but isn't.
Right.
It's kind of in a weird place between both that isn't really the best of either world.
Right. I agree.
I will say, just to more or less echo this sentiment, though, I've been enjoying quite a bit of what I've played so far, and like you said, Nick, as well, I think the difficulty curve is actually really well done, at least for what I've played up to this point. Like it's extremely accessible right away, and then it begins to slowly introduce the elements that you will get much harder later on down the road, but for now, or at least it's just like an acceptable level of challenge, which is nice. I feel good, like, accomplishing just each stage, even in just the 5th and 6th zone. So that alone is pretty indicative of good design up to that point, for sure.
I think it's harder than Meat Boy overall.
It's definitely harder than Meat Boy. If you get to the later stuff, it's pretty punishing. And they make a few decisions that are, like, intended to punish you as well. That's a bird in the audio, by the way, if you can hear that. Sorry.
What is that?
People are yelling at... There's like a phone.
Jackhammer outside or something like
It's
that.
a bird.
It's a loud bird.
One bird
Very
cheeping.
loud.
Sorry.
Actually, side note, again, off topic, have you guys been, when people haven't talked, have you guys been hearing people going like...
No, are you...
No, those are ghosts.
I think I'm going
poltergeist.
fucking crazy. I don't know what the hell's happening. Sorry, go on. Continue.
Live interview with the Poltergeist and Rob Broom.
The End Is Nigh is really fantastic. I have some gripes with it. It's better than criticizing in anything negative, though. All the positives outweigh the negatives, and I'm not even done with it yet. The scope of the game will surprise you, I think, if you don't go in expecting so much more. and I didn't. I thought the game was the game, and that was that. But
Yeah.
no, there's a lot more to it than there appears to be at first.
That's very encouraging.
I totally agree. I have gripes with it, but I still very much enjoy it. I would like to see Edmund McMillan make a Metroidvania, though, for instance.
Yeah, me too.
I would be into that.
I just want to reiterate, like, the music I've been in love with. Like, I think it might be one of my favorite soundtracks of his game so far. I think it's really
It's
solid.
great, but sometimes it's a little off, I think. Like,
You think so?
it's a little too angry or overwhelming for some of the scenes. After you've played them for, like, 20 minutes, if you're in a certain chapter trying to find something,
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, the intensity needs to calm down a little bit, because, like, I heard the loop a lot of times now. Let's calm it down.
Sure. I hear you. Alrighty, cool. That is The End Is Nigh. Available right now on Steam for $15. They were doing a sale. I don't know if they're still doing it. That might have just been a pre-release thing if you own The Binding of Isaac, or is it Rebirth or something or other. I don't know if they're even doing it. So why did I even mention it? It's $15. There you go. It's on Steam, $15 right now. And that'll take us into everybody's favorite segment. It's time for Ask Roundtable, the weekly segment where you send your questions to roundtableyt@gmail.com. Rob slowly raises his head out of view. As you can see, right here, here he is. There he is. Now it's just a neck and a black shirt. It's the weekly segment where you send your questions to Roundtable YT. You okay, buddy?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. This is the edge of the bed, so there's not much, it hurts.
All right.
Nice.
We all just
Yeah.
all right, well,
We
I
should
gotta
all
take
do
my-
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
here we go. Eric asks, which direction do you think first-person shooters are headed? Moving to multiplayer only? Are newer titles investing their resources only into multiplayer for more of a replayable experience? He goes on to elaborate. Hold on, let me find it. To add on, I personally think it's great for promising games to focus on multiplayer since games use too much effort on the 2-hour-long campaign. And not enough time on multiplayer. Yeah, that's the next level for sure. Personally, I believe...
I can't do that.
You can't do that? Personally, I believe games like Overwatch and Lawbreakers should stick to only multiplayer, while games like Borderlands 2 and Fallout 4...
I'm not joining you on this one.
Why not?
You gotta draw the line somewhere.
Fallout 4 should stick
Oh, God. We're disrespecting this man's question.
That's a valid question, and we are making a mockery of it. These are valid points. He says he believes games like Overwatch and Lawbreakers should stick to only multiplayer, while games like Borderlands 2 and Fallout 4 should stick to the classic RPGs. Motherfucker. Which direction do you guys think first-person shooters are headed? I think like the obvious start to this conversation is the fact that Overwatch kind of did change the game last year a little bit, right? Like I think they opened the door to allow for like multiplayer exclusive shooters to exist. Agree or disagree?
Maybe? I don't know. I feel like any Blizzard game seems to start this, oh, Blizzard did a thing, it's going to be really successful, let's do that thing.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I guess in a way you're right, but it's just because it's a Blizzard game.
I mean, yeah, that literally is the reason, and it's working. Yeah. I think it's worked in the past. It'll probably work now, right?
I mean, first-person shooters have been going that route.
They're all going to get crushed, though?
Yeah, well, Battleborn did, for damn sure.
Yeah.
But they did have a campaign component to Battleborn, or at least like a single-player component to Battleborn, at least. But yeah, like it's interesting to consider, you know, like over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, where we went from like the World War II shooter extravaganza to now like the multiplayer shooter is more than likely going to become a lot more popular. But I think like even back then we were talking about how these shooters like Call of Duty and the Call of Duty competitors were so focused on the multiplayer now to the point where the campaigns were almost taking a back seat. Right? Like, with Modern Warfare 2, we had a great campaign and then the great multiplayer, and then, like, from then on, it's kind of been a shift in focus to, well, the multiplayer makes the money, so let's focus on the multiplayer, right? And now it might as well just be, like, fuck the solo campaign.
There's, like, all these different threads of thinking which thing is the best for their individual IP, and all of them are trying the other thing, so they're all going to try and find their equilibrium of what works the best. Mm-hmm. I mean, Wolfenstein for a while thought multiplayer was a great idea, and then it kind of wasn't, and now they're making exclusively single-player games, right?
New Order is exclusively single-player, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's trying both, see what works, and then they stick with the one that works. So I don't know that there's like a prevailing, everyone's moving in one direction. They're
Yeah.
all just doing their own thing.
That's a fair
Well,
point.
I think the age of the traditional shooter is now like kind of officially come to an end, you know? Because like you remember in the early 2000s, well, not the 2010s, you know, Call of Duty, Battlefield, you know, all this the reiteration on reiteration on reiteration of just like traditional military shooter. You just shoot people, team deathmatch, you know, that's the thing. But I don't see people making those games very much anymore. At least not in straight up the traditional way. I mean, you could see stuff like that.
Well, I mean, to counter that point immediately,
they still
Call
sell
of Duty World War II is the next game, so it's like literally it, but 7 years later. But I think I agree still.
But I think most people aren't trying to ape Call of Duty anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you had stuff coming out like, you know, the Medal of Honor franchise continuing to exist, and, you know, Homefront and Haze and all the ones trying to, like, you know, shit like that. But it's not. I don't see companies trying to ape that anymore.
Call of Duty's not even aping Call of Duty anymore. They're looking for their own identity now. Although now they've come full circle, so maybe now they are. I don't know. Back to me.
Yeah, we got a little piece of
I don't want the bird to annoy everybody.
So loud.
I'm trying to keep it away.
It actually sounds like there's a child outside of your window, like bouncing a glass ball on concrete.
It's probably 200 feet away.
Oh my god.
It's a loud bird.
I mean, my thoughts on this are pretty simple. And I've said this before. I don't agree with the notion that every first-person shooter has to have a single-player campaign and a multiplayer version of the game as well. I think for Titanfall, it totally worked to be multiplayer only. And then to their credit, in Titanfall 2, they added a single-player campaign that was supposedly excellent. And I imagine if you work at Respawn, you're like, well, you didn't buy it anyway. And now, like, so they're like, okay, so I didn't buy Titanfall 1 because there was no single-player campaign. And then I didn't buy Titanfall 2 because it came out at the same time as a lot of other games I wanted to buy. They're going to come out with Titanfall 3 on, like, January 3rd, 2019, and it's not going to sell well, and everybody's going to lose their jobs and have no useful feedback for how to ever sell video games in the future.
But it's sort of bizarre that they think that just making a really good game is all you need to get really good sales. There's more to it than that now. There's a lot of good games. You have to exist in the right time. You have to make a good game with great reviews, right? Like, you've got to have all the features people want at the right moment.
You got to sponsor.
You got to read the room.
You need to have Tom Clancy has his name before the title of the game, and then all of the previous concerns will be invalidated, apparently, in the case of Ghost Recon Wildlands.
I think Titanfall just, like, came at the end of what I'm talking about, which is, I think, what really shot it in the foot, because it's like a non-traditional shooter, if that makes any sense. Like yeah, it's non-traditional. You get in a mech and you shoot things, but, like, it still feels like Call of Duty, you know? Like, it's still kind of that.
I
like,
disagree. I don't think it feels like Call of Duty.
It's team deathmatch and all the guns.
Oh, well, the multiplayer,
the
multiplayer, maybe. Yeah, I thought, like, the campaign's not really, but.
Oh, yeah, not the campaign. But Respawn, those are the guys who used to make Call of Duty, like, the good ones back in the day, and they've always made great campaign modes. So I still want to play Titanfall 2, but it's still kind of too expensive for just the single.
It was on sale, I think, $20 last I saw.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I almost it was 30. Sorry, it was 30.
And if you get a 10 kill streak, you unlock Mace Windu as a pilot. So does that make a difference?
Hey, look, I realize my vices. Okay, I'm aware of them. But even that's not even like the like Battlefront 2 is not even like that. That's closer to non-traditional than traditional to me. I think with now, like, they're gonna have the 4 classes and hero unlocks and, you know, vehicle unlock and all this other shit. So, like, that's closer to non-traditional, and I really think multiplayer shooters are just going in that direction.
I was right. It was $19.99 from Best Buy. I'll link the thing right in chat.
Shit, dude.
I also think, like, games have been doing this really well. Not just Blizzard. I mean, Overwatch is a really good example. Titanfall, the only conversation about Titanfall these days, Titanfall 1, is that it didn't sell that well, or the community died like nearly instantly. But Titanfall 1 was a really good multiplayer-only game. Rainbow Six Siege is another one that literally has a single-player thing in the menu, but it might as well not exist. It's fake single-player. The campaign is actually like maybe 22 minutes long. So I think like that's another really good example. And I am biased in this in that I almost never want to play a single-player first-person shooter game. Even if the campaign is amazing, it's just sort of not my scene. So I welcome more multiplayer-only stuff because I find those systems excellent. And I think I find those systems interesting, I should say. And if dedicating more time towards the multiplayer has the ability to flesh that out even more, then it works for me as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
GoldenEye Source nailed it, man. I wouldn't play a single player of that, and it's free, and it's online, and it works really well, and it looks amazing.
In my opinion, though...
I think it does.
In my opinion, though, I do refute the idea that, like, the ones that are successful multiplayer-only shooters should completely stay away from single-player, because, like, if they made, like, a single-player Overwatch campaign, I'd totally play that. Like, that would be pretty fun, I think. But
you're also advocating single-player Dota.
I am. I think that would be fun. But also, I want Warcraft 3 again, so
Yeah, you just want Warcraft.
How have they not made another Warcraft yet? What has it been, 15 years now?
Yeah, it's
the real-time strategy genre is actually completely dead.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It does not really exist anymore.
But they just made a new Civ.
Well, that's not real-time strategy.
Dude,
turn-based strategy.
More people are playing Civ 5 than are playing Civ 6.
Yeah, that's also true about
I think
Civ.
that happens, like, all the time, though.
It does.
Until, like, because eventually, like, Civ 5 has, like, 9 years of being on sale for $2 6 times a year.
Yeah.
Like, if in 5 years, I have faith that Civ 6 will, because people just that did not get caught in are like they'll get caught. Steam and Firaxis will get you. It's just a matter of time. If they didn't get you at 30, they're gonna get you at like $12.50, or they're gonna get you at $7.25, or they're gonna get you at
$5 with the entirety of the DLC.
Exactly, like the game of the year. Eventually, I think that's more of a byproduct of Civ 5 selling like a copy to literally everybody on Steam.
What about the Total War series? That's still going. Don't people love that?
Well, so as a Total War fan,
I've only played the original one. Sadly, been out of it for a bit.
It still does actually have like a pretty good community, and those are still pretty big budget games that sell really well. But the community is pretty negative about Total War, and not because of the game; it's because of their really shitty DLC policies. Like, people are like because they'll release like a $15 DLC, and it's a new faction that has half of the units are the same as every other faction.
Okay, yeah.
Woo! So
it is real-time strategy, right?
It's turn-based and real-time.
Yeah, it's
like the overworld stuff is turn-based, and then the battles when they take place themselves are real-time.
Yeah.
Yeah. The campaign mode is a grand strategy game, a la EU4 or CK2, but the game is real-time now. But yeah, no, Total War is great. It's just the DLC has been shitty for a long time, unfortunately.
There's a new bird now, so be prepared.
I hear him, actually, yeah.
It's going... Back to mute.
Yeah. We kind of curtailed that discussion a little bit. But anyway, thank you very much, Erik, for the question. Appreciate it. If you've got a question for Ask Roundtable, send it on in to roundtableyt@gmail.com. That'll take us into everybody's favorite segment. After their favorite segment, it is time for Nick's Weird Games. Brought to you by, well, not brought to you by, but here's the theme song.
Nick's Weird Games. Nick's Weird Games. Probably Japanese in an RPG. They're Nick's Weird Games. Nick's Weird Games.
Hey, thanks, Dylan, for the theme song again. Much obliged for that, buddy. Just started it again. Don't worry about that. Time for Nick's Weird Games.
Really loud.
Was it what? Oh, I'm sorry.
Extremely loud. Sorry, go on.
My bad. Nick's Weird Games. This is the weekly segment where Nick is going to go get a weird game from his collection of a lot of weird games. We're going to try to guess what it is. Nick, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. You know, the funniest, the initial reason we did a theme song was because I'd get up and get it. And then
Right.
ever since like the 20th episode, I've always had it prepared. So then there was really no reason for a theme song anymore, but it stuck. So glad it did.
Me too. Hide
All
your
right,
chats.
today we've got another Nick's Weird Games. This is an Xbox 360 exclusive. Surprisingly, very few of those, actually, if you go looking for them. A lot of them made their way onto PS3 or eventually PC. This one did not. It remains forever trapped in its console crypt. So this game was developed by Feel Plus and Q Entertainment, published
Okay.
by Konami.
It is a yeah, no, I know this. Q Games is that jam. It's a pixel junk game. It's a pixel junk shooter, pixel junk
I
something.
have a box for it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Not a digital game.
Yeah.
Did Pixel
yeah.
Junk release them in boxes? Maybe they did eventually.
But Q Games is a Japanese company with Western developers that publishes small games mostly.
I would love to see you get this just from this bit of information.
No
That would be
kidding.
very exciting.
It'd be
It's also
impressive.
M-rated, if that helps.
That's not pixel junk.
That ain't
You want to keep
Let's-
speculating?
Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep
All
going.
right. This game was largely thrust into its mainstream exposure via the TGS 2008 conference.
Okay.
And anybody, I know that sounds like a bizarre bit of information, but if you do remember what I'm talking about, you'll immediately know what game I'm talking about right after that.
Oh, the game station.
All right, I guess not. Even chat hasn't. I'm actually surprised that didn't give it away for chat.
Huh?
It is an action RPG, as you could probably guess, hack and slash, single player. Apparently, there's multiplayer. I didn't actually know that.
So wait, you said they showed this at the 2008 show. So did it release? When
It was announced there, and it had a particularly odd bit of like a faux pas on that moment when it was announced. That was a meme for a while.
It's a meme game.
Yeah, okay, chat's starting to get onto it now. Somebody said the meme, but they haven't figured the game out. Oh wait, somebody got the game. All right.
Okay.
I can only think of like E3 2007 memes. Is there, I
That's
mean,
too bad.
and not for Xbox 360.
What if I tell you that the game has multiple story modes featuring many different characters with different backgrounds, and you all sort of approach the same campaign from different angles? Remember, action, hack and slash, RPG.
Oh, I got it.
You do?
Yeah?
Diablo 2.
No. The game was received with very poor reviews. Metacritic score 45 out of 100, unfortunately.
Ooh.
This actually hurt me
Yeah.
personally because I actually was very involved with this game. And so much to the fact that I was the first person to write a comprehensive guide on game FAQs for how to
Nice.
find all the hidden items in it.
Damn, dude.
So this one is actually near and dear to me.
Oh shit.
Persona 2.
No.
Q Entertainment.
Anything else I think I say now would give away. I think I'm...
Did you give an actual?
I didn't give a date, actually.
No, you didn't.
2010 in North America.
Skylanders.
It's a hack and slash
Action RPG.
action.
I actually wonder if my guide is still hosted on GameFAQs. Is that a thing that they still do?
I think so, yeah.
I'm going to go find it.
Does, when you say action RPG, are you talking about like a loot fest, like a Diablo style?
It's like Loot Fest light. There's very little loot, but the loot that you find is very important.
Is it?
Titan Quest?
Oh, also, it's a sequel.
There's. I don't
I'm
think
out.
I got it. Yeah, I don't think I got it. I'm
Everybody's
sorry.
out?
Yeah,
No idea.
I thought I might have had it, but I don't think I got it.
Yo, where is my guide, though? I'm looking it up. I don't see it here anymore. Did they reject it like 2 years after it was up?
Oh no!
I still have it saved on my hard
What
drive.
was
Don't
your
worry,
old?
it's not gone.
What was your old GameFAQs username?
I assume it was either my name now or Dead Sea.
They'd see.
Not SEA, the letter C. I was a Reaper player back then.
Yeah. You can cut yourself on that edge.
All right, I'm going to show you the game now. It is 99 Nights 2.
Oh,
otherwise known as N32, which is a really great title.
yeah, it's super confusing.
What was the meme?
The meme was 1 million twoops. It was kind of racist, but
That sounds racist, yeah.
Okay.
it was this dude with no energy came out on stage and he had nothing to say about the game, and they just roll like B-roll of the game in the background, and he just kept saying 1 million troops over and over again.
That sounds great.
They called 99 Nights. It's N3. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Now. I had no idea. But N32 is 99 Nights 2. Right.
Correct.
They wouldn't call it. So like, never mind. This is a terrible joke. All right, cool. 99 Nights.
This is from the era where I did not pay attention to the video game industry, so I am done.
Yeah,
This was one of my favorite games, if you can believe that. I love this game,
That's
even
awesome.
though it's mostly terrible,
Does
I guess.
it play like a Dynasty Warriors kind of thing, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This is why I always wondered, like, why don't I love Dynasty Warriors? Because I really like this, and yet it loses me every time. And I think it's because this is like dark fantasy, but Dynasty Warriors is just like historical fantasy, and that doesn't do it the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Can I ask, like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy's arms
Who?
in this clip? The clip that I just linked in the chat.
You know I can't click that.
He's got silly arms.
We're on a goddamn show here, Rob.
It's 99 Nights too.
Speaking of which,
I'm
Those
watching.
are sleeves, Rob.
Why has he got the?
He's got
arms
jester
from arms.
sleeves.
Those are arms.
That's arms from arms.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's what he's got.
He has arms.
What about his weapon?
He's got arms. Like he will punch me from
They're
like
dual
30
whips.
feet away.
They're like slicey. What?
This game looks like fucking garbage.
Get out of here!
I'm sorry.
You can hate it all you want. Why call it garbage?
official gameplay.
I'm just calling it like I see it.
I had fun with it. The secrets were well hidden, and I documented the shit out of them. I'm pissed that my guide is not up. I don't know what happened here.
Go to like 2 minutes and 58 seconds and watch his anime run with his arms.
Oh, does he do an anime run?
I'm
It's
not on
the
right
most
video,
anime
damn it.
run I've ever seen.
They're making this on-the-fly production work way too hard for me.
It's taking me back, man. The summer of 2010, I sat in my living room with the AC blasting, and I just played this all summer and had my laptop open and was just writing shit down. And then I was like fielding questions about what to do.
That's great, dude.
I really like at 258 when he does the anime run, and then he walks into about 17,000 enemies that are just standing there shooting Dragon Slayer great bows at him.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's the Dynasty Warriors thing. That's what I don't like about Dynasty Warriors. It's like, oh, I'm fighting a big old battle. Here I am. I'm here to kill you. I'm going to stand here with 40 other people.
You better do something about it or we'll attack. I resent that you called that historical fiction, by the way, or fantasy history, because everything that happened in Dynasty Warriors happened in real life. Dion Wei massacred an entire battalion of enemy troops with one fell swoop of his massive axe.
I meant no disrespect.
Thank you. You will honor Wu Shu and Wei.
Oh, did somebody find my guide?
I hope so. I want that to still be up.
Is it on keyingredient.com/recipes? Bacon wrapped oven roasted corn.
How to
Probably
find
not,
lowest
no.
rates guaranteed. Book your reservation on bestwestern.com and go get rewarded.
Is that your guide, Nick?
No, I don't think
No?
it is. I
Okay.
don't know what this is.
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for watching another episode of Roundtable Live. Appreciate you being here live on twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Roberto, thank you for joining us. Where can they find your stuff?
I'm AlpacaPatrol everywhere. Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Also, by the way, if you click that link, it's totally you talking on the Game Fact forum. But anyway, AlpacaPatrol, it's from 7 years ago. It's AlpacaPatrol everywhere, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Discord.gg/AlpacaPatrol. I won't be streaming tomorrow because Jess is coming in. So I'm going to be, just cleaning up and doing crazy shit, taking out the trash.
You gonna stream that?
all day.
Yeah.
I need to know though.
Yeah.
Why?
Just let it out, man.
Tie up the trash bag, but then leave it in the trash can? Because all you've done is make a non-functional trash can, but there's still trash next to you.
Well, I have to say, for the past 2 hours, I've been a little bit busy, mainly.
So you just tied that up.
I just tied it up.
Tied that up.
It just got full enough.
All right.
But to move it 6 inches.
How far is
your
the
left.
dumpster from your room?
I gotta go out of my apartment, go to the incinerator, and then there you go.
Why not
That's
just
it?
slide the trash can out of frame?
Can it be done?
It looks like he's doing it.
Oh.
And they said
There we
it couldn't
go.
be done.
Hey, it's perfect.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
All right, we're ready to do the show now.
It's just trash. It's a trash in a bag, and it's closed. How is that hard?
Raise your rack attacks in chat.
It's just weird.
Also, Sunday, probably movie night with Jess live. So
Cool.
Webcam and everything. That'll be cool.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Rob, for joining us. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of Roundtable Live. Appreciate you. We're here every week, Fridays, 3 o'clock Pacific. You can catch the VOD of the show over on our YouTube channels. That is BaerTaffy, RockLeeSmile, and Mathis Games typically. And we want to thank those of you who are supporting us, of course, over on patreon.com/roundtable. Thank you guys so much for maintaining your pledges over there. That includes Julian Avelsgaard, Jonathan Graham, Scrouty119, Peter Sunison, Ricky Grist, Leah Rokema, Ellis Spice, John Kalchik, O. Thomas Games BR, Jakar Sampson, Kolnar with the dance number, Jamie Tinsley, Sahoa, Joseph Boss, Penn Gillette, Michael Bush Larson, You're going to do this now? All right. TJ Majesty, Chaos Never Gonna Let You Down Theorist, Colby Klein, Greenlight, Lawrence Sossman, Erik Schooley, Brizzle Brip, Positron, Myth Scarab, Mediocrities.
The bag doesn't hold trash.
Justin,
the bag is part of the trash.
Justin, Smurfette, and
You're
Logan
holding
Ray.
trash right now.
Thank you for your Patreon pledges. We want to thank those of you subscribing on Twitch as well. Thank you very much, Mike2084, Guilty, Tech Tight Toe, Guilty. Oh, wait, no, those repeated. Dropkick Hope, Aphex Adam, I Am the Meme Now, and Kodak. Thank you guys for the subs and resubscriptions during the show this year, and Devastating Wake as well. Thank you guys so much for supporting us here on Twitch and on Patreon and just in general. Thank you very much for the support. We'll be back next week. Mathis should be back for that show as well. We'll be having a very special guest on the show, actually, next week. I don't think I've even mentioned, by the way, we'll be starting a little later as well. I'll tweet that, and I'll change the MooBot command to reflect the new time. But we'll be starting next week at 5 o'clock Pacific. We'll be having Teen Cherry on the show. So that should be a ton of fun. A good time. So come on by for that. And that'll do for us today. Thank you very much for watching the show. Appreciate it. I apologize for how loud this music is about to be, but we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Hey, everybody.
Bye.
The bird says bye to